from your story, you were more like raised by a single mother.
Yes.
Can you tell us some of the experiences you had? You know, some people have already have this notion that that a child raised by a single mother, they call mom case what are the chances of a child not being wayward? A child that is raised by a single mother. And then what is your experience from a separated home? So that from this guy's experience, it wasn't really easy. It was easy. It's nothing. Leave that talk. Yes. So a separated home, what is a first-hand experience? And a child raised by a single mother, care your experience. How did you become somebody in life? Go ahead.
So one is a separated home.
Yes, one is single mom.
And the other one is the experience being raised by a single mom.
Yes.
And how certain parts of the world chooses to judge people who come from such.
Yes.
I'll take the one where one is raised by a mom, single parents. I'll take that first. Like I said to you, my mother came from very, very humble beginnings. Extremely humble beginnings. Everything she earned, everything she achieved, she worked for it. Right? I think parenting, be it single, be it combined, is all about knowing that your offsprings, your children are your greatest assets. No matter how wealthy you may be, the greatest investment you have, if you just treat it that way, and even if you take whoever it is, Dangote, $1 billion, $10 billion, refinery of $20 billion, to ensure that offspring is well raised, you have to assume that those children are worth $25 billion if the refinery is to $20 billion. And that has to be the mindset. That's what my mom did with us. She treated us as anything concerning these children will be prioritized over and above anything. Single home, she was very humble beginnings. But you look at, after a certain age, when you're looking at people, the strength in a woman, a man, it's not so much how much you have. It is how you've raised the kids and where they are today. So if you look at my home, my elder sister is quite senior at AMCON, federal government agency, very senior there. My immediate younger sisters, one is a top doctor in the US and also at Harvard. The other one is a senior manager in Lagos at MTN. Everybody is based on the hard work. The formula was straightforward. You can only progress in life by ensuring that you work harder than every other person around you. That's one. Two is that she was extremely disciplined and strict. There were rules. So nurture is so critical. Whether you're single home, joint, co-parenting, all of that is what is the value system that the husband and the wife or the mother says, I want to imprint into these children, because the first form of education starts in the home. That's the most important one. Now, how would you say coming from a single home, and I'll be very honest here, right? Coming from a separated home affects one. It's challenging. I grew up without any examples that I could point to as a father. I have basically learned to be a dad by having a son and a daughter. I had no examples that I could point to. My first wet dream, I didn't know who to talk to. When my nipples started hurting me, I didn't know who to ask. Couldn't ask my mom because my friends said they were talking to their fathers. So it was very, very tough. But I also believe that what may have helped me is that if I thought my mother was tough on my kid, on my sisters, she was 10 times tougher on me. And kept indoctrinating. Say, you have to be this, you have to be focused, you have to be that. You're the father, you're the husband, you're the this is what a dad would do. But as God would have it, I was also sent to them boarding school. So at least I got the opportunity to live with other young men, learn from them, you know. And in summary, I would say you typically only, I don't think there's a midpoint. I think there are two extremes. I think that there will always be some level of trauma with kids that were raised by a single parent. But it all depends how you want to channel that trauma when you start your own home. What are the rules? For 10 years, every weekend, no matter where I am, I have to go back to the family. I'll watch football games. I'll take my daughter to ballet. I'll take my wife for lunch or dinner on Saturday. I'll take my wife for breakfast, brunch with her and the kids. Sunday morning after church, all of us together. No business meetings on the weekend unless you meet me while I'm watching my son play football. Anywhere else I am in Nigeria, I make sure I submit by the weekend. That's how I handle the trauma. The trauma of being from a single parent, I channeled it to being the best, trying to be the best father and best husband one can become. I grew up watching a very strong woman. So I come from a world where in selecting a wife, what I found attractive was a very strong, fierce, focused, ambitious woman who could be a partner and not necessarily husband and wife. Why? Because my brother, if that woman at home cannot dress you down, make mockery of you, wash you down completely, tell you that who you are outside is nothing. Once you enter this door, you are just.
Yes.
If you can't have someone that close to you do that, then you're just being led astray. You need that humbling at home. You need to put your feet on the ground and realize that when you come into those doors, it's a 50-50 situation. And that's the mindset. And I got that from, obviously, my upbringing and seeing how strong a woman was and how she dealt with adversities. So I went for a woman that is just, people say it's just like her. And I can tell you that it was the best ever decision for me. Whereas some people deal with trauma the other way, by showing that they didn't get those experiences, right? So that's really my view.
Thank you very much. You subtly mentioned about that one problem that marriage, most especially they blame it on the woman and everything, and then you said something about your dad carrying your name, and they said he was in politics. Didn't you ever meet him after the 5 years?
No, I did. So
okay.
I have pictures. I still even remember being with him in the house from 0 to 5, maybe once or twice, 3 times. Just great memories, right? But after that, when I got into primary school, he was always, on my birthday, he would always come. Because he's June 10th, I'm June 15th. So he would come, and then after that, he'll run back to Abuja, run back to some other states. But then just when I started to ask questions about who am I want to get closer to him, maybe when I'm done with secondary school, November 22, 2002, they picked us up from school and told us that my dad was not feeling well and that we were going to Enugu to go and see him. We got back home in Festac, and I said, "Are we not going?" They said, "No." I said, "Come up to the room. Your uncle wants to tell you something." And I saw my mom looking so deflated, because for life she kept saying, "I love this man." Right? Never judged him wrongly, and never made any of us hate him. We all loved him. But they broke the news that day that he was dead. He died having a heart attack between driving from Abuja to Anambra. Apparently, he was coming to run for Senate. You know? Started feeling pains in his chest. Went to the first hospital. They said there's no light. Second one, they said there's no light. They have a gem but no diesel. And by the time he got to the third one, they said, okay, they've turned on the gen. Let's go and get him out. The nurse looked in and said, this one is a corpse, so you don't die. And that was it. So that's the story. So we had a relationship, but it wasn't one that was close enough. I saw him once a year. And then once in a while, we would make 1 or 2 trips to Abuja to spend a week with him. But just when I was coming into my own, and I think I wanted to be more around him, that was when he left. That was another defining moment for me. Because it was not normal to lose a parent at 15, 16. And having been told, you have to be strong, you should be a man, you should be this, you should be that, you're the father of your sisters. As a 6, 7-year-old, then you get to 16 and you lose your dad. It was quite traumatic. All my sisters crying. I remember that day in the house. All of them were crying. I left, no tears, went into my room, was playing my games. And at around 10 or 11 o'clock, I slept, woke up the next day, and continued. 2-3 days later, I went back to school, reintegrated. Everybody had heard that my dad was dead. And I said, it's not a problem. Let's keep going. I remember saying that. And then I think 2-3 weeks after it was his funeral, so many people came, because he was on the political scene, and saw them. And the only time I shed a tear was when they were wheeling his corpse down into the floor. And
it occurred to you? It
occurred to me that he was gone. And it was one teardrop. Cleaned it. And I said, oh well. I felt as a young man, when I was 7, 8, 9 as a boy, that it was just always only me. This time it was the clearest indication that truly you're on your own. You're on your own.
Oh, yeah?
You know? And just made you grow up very quickly, mature mentally very quickly, and just taught us how to deal with adversity quite early.
Do you agree that the parental mistakes rubs off on their children? Some people, they claim that because your father did this, that there are high chances that it will also show up in you as a man. Maybe if your father, they beat your mama, they say if you grow up, if they beat your mama, you now, with your experience now, do you, because it means that tomorrow now, if you separate with your wife, they will say, in papa do the same. Do you think that such thing is actually attainable, that it happens? That once something, if you're not careful, the mistakes of your parents reflects on you. And if you think it's so, how do one work on it? Go ahead, please.
Igbo gba gburugburu kedu ife mezi na oje bụrụ na ebe anyị kwesịrị ịtụnye ego na ya ratụ izinya bụ ego ebe afọ ọkwa imugo nwa ka ya amụ echi inugo nwaanyị ị ga-anụ echi ka bakwa alụ kịta ka ị gbara ana afọ ịgbalụ nwee ike ịpụta echi bụrụ ife ga-aba gị ọgaranya bụrụ ife ị ga-eji wee ko all these big men ịfụ na Igbo ana mere ọtụtụ ihe ha bụ ya gbara ana kịta nke ikpeazụ a Pineleaf ga-emenwu ya. Pineleaf, the only trusted estate anyị ma ka emesianụ.
I think it's a fantastic question. Like I said, nurture for me is more important than nature. Nurture is, the ability to mold
Yes.
shape. If a young 5, 6, 7-year-old boy or girl experiences, all she sees or all he sees is the father beating the hell out of the mom, slapping her for everything, the truth is that there are higher tendencies that that kid is going to grow up believing that that's the way of the world, right? And then it now becomes a case of how to channel that trauma, but it's also linked to, you know, how, if they felt as daddy was doing this, was he also successful? As daddy was doing this, was he celebrated? Or as they see the full cycle, do they see him being unhappy and regretting some of those decisions? All of these things are critical to how that child turns out, right? So my view is that I think we are a result of all our life experiences. You're a product of our life experience. You get some at home. You get some in school. You get some when you start to date a girl in your relationships. You make certain mistakes. You do things and it turns out well. But I think ultimately, as you start to grow into adulthood, that decision becomes yours. To look at all the examples and experiences you've been through and then be able to identify a path for how you want to be. For me, I love my dad and I wish him well. I pray that he continues to rest in peace.
Amen.
But perhaps the one or two mistakes and how I dealt with those trauma is that to make sure the areas where I felt he didn't do well, I had to overcompensate and be excellent at that in my marriage. And that's what gives me happiness today. So you can already assume I'm not the disciplinarian at home. My wife is the one that that is tough on the kids because I feel like I was raised without a dad for the most part. I must ensure that I'm present and they have that experience from me. So sometimes I could end up maybe spoiling them. And my wife tries to bring me back
to balance it
and say, bros, this thing you are doing, we have to end it, you know? But
ọ bụrụ na ị chọrọ igwe anaghị ajụ ga-arụ oyi, nwanne jebe na Pine Leaf Estate and Properties Limited.